Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are here with us today at the December 2014 WorldDocs Virtual User Group meeting, where we are talking today about archiving documents and matters and category search. Two exciting topics. At least I find them exciting, but I find strange things exciting. So we'll let you be the judge as to whether or not they're exciting. But before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. If you are looking at a screen that looks something like this, then you have not minimized your GoToWebinar control panel, because that's what this is. And so if you click this little button that looks like an arrow pointing to the right, then this big screen will slide right off to the right of your screen, and you won't see it anymore. All you'll see are these buttons, and this one that looked moments ago like an arrow pointing to the right will now look like an arrow pointing to the left, because that's what you would click to bring this screen back into focus. Why would you want to bring that screen back into focus? Because you have a question and you're shy. If you are not wanting to talk to us directly, then you can type a question here. Remember to hit send, and Leanne, our humble little baker moderator, will recognize that you have a question. Now I have to interrupt and say that she makes the most incredible Christmas cookies, and I have just eaten approximately 72 of them. So if I lapse into a food coma, it's Leanne the baker's fault, just to make that perfectly clear. Leanne will recognize that you have asked a question. She will interrupt Mary Jo and myself at the opportune time, and she will ask your question on your behalf. Now keep in mind, Mary Jo or I, especially I, may tend to get off track in answering your question, or maybe we won't answer the question you were really intending to ask. So if that happens, just keep typing here, keep those questions coming, keep us on track, keep remembering to hit send, and Leanne will keep interrupting us and asking your continued questions on your behalf. Do not let us get to the end without answering your question. Now, if you're not feeling shy, you can press this button here that looks like a hand with an arrow pointing upward in front of it. That means raise your hand. Same thing will happen. Leanne will interrupt Mary Jo or myself at the opportune time, but instead of asking your question on your behalf, she will unmute you, and she will leave you unmuted until you get your question answered. So once again, if we get off track, we get off on the wrong tangent, you have a follow-up question, no matter what the case may be, just interrupt, because we are in a one-on-one conversation until you get your question answered and Leanne mutes you again. So, without any further ado, I'm going to press a couple magic buttons and click on the magic red X, and we are going to open up WorldDocs so that Mary Jo can tell us all about category searching. Mary Jo?
Okay, category searching. So a lot of people want to know, can I search categories when I click on search in this box here? And no, that's not a way that you can do category searching at this point in time, but I can show you another way that you can sort your lists and search for a certain category. I'm going to just go into our favorite files and just say I want to just have all, and no, I think that was for you. I don't know. I'm just going to do all documents out here. So if I want to do categories, I guess you're right, Paul. Maybe we did just do one client. Let me do that. If you go into Direct Access, I'm just going to use one of our sample clients here and just do Purdue Law. And we'll open that up. I don't need a great big list here to do it, but you can do this on your whole list if you want to. So, and we'll say OK. All right, so I have Purdue Law's documents up here. Now, the first thing that you'll notice, I don't have a category column in here, so I probably want to add that. If you're using categories, you probably already have one in here, but I'm going to quick insert a column for my category so that I can see it. So here is a category column. If you don't have one, I just right-clicked and I inserted column and I chose categories so I can actually see them on the screen. Now, earlier, Paul and I were playing around and we had email and incoming and email and outgoing and email incoming and STI. We just kind of assigned some categories to some of the documents. Your lists are probably already built and you're just going to be assigning those categories either when you save or whenever. But my goal today is to show you how do I sort this list. Now, yeah, I can click on the categories column and I can sort by the category, but what it does is it's going to group each type of category into a separate grouping. So I have all my emails here. I have all my updates for GX3 here, all my incoming emails there. I've got all the outgoing emails here, all the STI and so on. And then it goes into my unassigned. But that doesn't help me if I want to look at unassigned, and here they are way at the bottom of the list, and I have to scroll down to try to find all the unassigns. Or, you know, if you have more categories showing here, you might have to scroll down your page just to find the category that you're looking for. The other thing that this does is it takes all of the categories and it splits them up. So if email, let's say that this next visit email here is an email, but it's also an incoming, and it's also an STI. Well, I'm seeing it 3 times. This is the same email, but I'm seeing it under all 3 of those categories. So if I just want to sort, I just want to see only the incoming emails, I can go down to my tags. You've got this little funnel down here. It's called tags. And this is a quick search that you can do on different items that are on the list up above. And if you have categories defined, all of the categories are down here. So I can go to outgoing or incoming and pick that, and it's going to narrow down my list to just show me just the incoming categories. If I go back to my full list and I'm just sorting it to just those incoming, now I have a much more manageable list to find what I'm looking for. I can do several different criteria. I can say that I want the incoming and I only want the ones that were saved by Paul Purdue. And again, now it's going to go ahead and sort my list a little further. So you can combine all of these different types and you can get that list to be a little smaller. You also can do the little minus sign and say, I don't want to see any incoming, or you can do it the opposite. So when you're sorting by categories, I want to see everything but a certain thing. You can do that. So that's just another, it's a quick way that you can sort that out. One other thing that I'll show you is if you hover over the actual name of the category, you'll see that it tells me that there's 13 files that I have that are marked as incoming. Or if I go to outgoing, there's only 4. And you'll also notice that the type, the bigger the type, like down here you can see that this is huge. It's a huge, bold email. There's a lot more files in that. So the bigger and bolder the type, the more documents that you have underneath that particular type. So if I go over email, you can see there's 19. If I go to GX3, there's only 3, and the type gets smaller as I go as well. So it's just another fast way, is a visual way to look at the categories to see approximately what you have and how many. You can do more than one. So if I want to see ingoing and outgoing, you can combine. So there's a lot of different functionality here with tags to sort. And most of the time I find that this is enough that you can get this list down to a manageable level to find the document that you're looking for. Paul?
Well, thank you, Mary Jo. I'm just making a quick note about that one thing that we were trying to think that I was supposed to cover, and I thought of it. It's very exciting for me. Okay, now I'm going to talk about archiving, and we're going to stay in Purdue Law. Now, archiving simply means putting something away so that it's not in the main area. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it goes away. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not searchable anymore. It just means we're moving it out of the main storage area and putting it in an archive storage area. Now, that could mean that we're actually, under the hood, back in the background, we're actually moving it from one server to another. Maybe we have a server that's not as souped up and doesn't have as many CPUs or as much RAM, or it's where we store all our archive documents that we barely ever look at. Maybe we have a place where we store all our active documents where we're paying a high dollar amount per gigabyte to have it constantly backed up to an off-site facility. Maybe we've got some sort of backup routine that's coming through on an hour-by-hour or even more frequent basis, and making sure everything's backed up, but we pay a premium for that. So we may want to have our active documents in this area that's always backed up, even if we made a change 5 minutes ago. And we may want to have all our archive documents on a less expensive, less capable server that doesn't have this fancy off-site backup that is expensive to maintain. And maybe that server just gets backed up on a weekly basis, because once something's archived, it gets backed up, and it's backed up for good. So it really has a lot to do with how your WorldDocs is set up as to whether or not when you archive something it's really moving to a different area or not. But for those that have any sort of administrative control in World Docs, let's go back here, and I'm just going to go into my World Docs folder, and I'm going to run something called World Docs WDadmin. And I'm just going to show you one thing. If you're a user that doesn't ever get into WDadmin, bear with me for 1 minute, and we'll get back to the regular World Docs. If I go, for instance, my client files profile, this is where we set up these profile groups that we store documents in, I am able to specify the location for archive. Now, it defaults to storing the archive documents in the same place where the regular active documents are stored. But as a system admin, you can come in and change this to put it on that less expensive, less capable, less powerful server that has a less expensive sort of backup routine hooked to it. Or you can just leave it the way it's going to default when we set up your profile groups and have them all on the same drive on the same server. That's entirely up to you, but I did want to make that point that that's a possibility. So let's go back. How do we archive? Well, here's Purdue Law. And I can take any number of documents. I can take this one document and right-click and choose. Now, if you haven't archived a lot, then it's still going to be under More. It's already up there because I've been doing it today. But so you'll see it here. Or if you don't see it here on this first menu when you right-click, go to More, and you'll see it here. And then once you've done a couple archives, it'll pop onto this first level menu that you get. And basically, you just say move to archive file. And if I do this now, it's going to do it for this one file. And it's gone. It's gone from the regular listing. More in a minute on how we can find it again. More in a minute on how we can search for it. But that's how we do it. What if we wanted to archive a certain group of files? Well, we could just mark them all. And just so you know, I'm just moving up and down and using my space bar to mark them. Not doing a very good job of it, but that's beside the point. And now, if I right-click and choose Archive, it's going to say, do you want to do the 9 checked or just the highlighted? I'll say, yes, do the 9 checked. And there they go, off to Archive. Now, you may get this message that says the system cannot find the file specified. Why? Because you're still in a list that originally started with that document listed. Now that document's not there. So if you just hit your refresh button, which is this little arrow thing, it'll refresh your list. We're back to Purdue Law, but now we're not seeing the ones that we archived because we've refreshed the list. Now, what if you want to archive the whole matter? Because that's really probably what you want to do. You probably want to take the whole matter and move it over to archive. You're done with this matter. You left it inactive for a month or two. Maybe you've had it there for 6 months. Maybe it's just been a week. But the bottom line is it's time to archive. All you need to do is hit Control-A, which is what I just tapped, and we mark all the files. And we would right-click and choose Archive. Now, there's about 130 files here, so I'm not going to archive them all. But that's how you do it. You just mark them all, and very quickly do a right-click, archive, move to archive, say yes for the whole list, and bam, you're archiving. Now, how do you find them? Well, there's 2 ways. If I go to direct access, raise your hands, and no, I'm just kidding, don't raise your hands. Think, does everybody know that direct access and find will both take me to Purdue Law Office's files? Anybody know the difference? Direct access is going to take me straight to that folder. It's not going to do a search for that matter for Purdue Law. It's just going to take me directly to the Purdue Law 00 matter, okay? If that's where I specify I want to go. So when I go direct access and I say I want to go to Purdue Law Office's 00 matter, it takes me right to that folder. And if I say find and say I want to go to the client profile group and then search for Purdue Law, here it's going to actually do a search. So if I go here and put Purdue and specify Purdue Law and then go one step further and also say the 00 matter, I'll get to the same folder, but I'm not really looking at, I must have. I probably specified the wrong client. Bottom line is, I'll get to the same documents, but I'm just getting there a different way, okay? Now, in direct access, we have then the ability to go to Purdue Law's active documents or Purdue Law's archive documents. So if I say, okay, now, I'm looking at that same list, but if I go back into direct access and say, show me the archive, I am now looking at only the list of documents that were archived. It's a very small list. I think we archived about a dozen or so documents. So that's one way to get to the archive. The difference between that and searching is here I'm either going to active or I'm going to archive. If I go into find and go under search what, I can specify to search both archive and active. Okay? So here I have a checkbox and I can check both active and archive, whereas back on direct access, it's an either-or situation. Now, of course, the other difference is that when I'm going to direct access, I'm really just saying, take me there, okay? Take me to the whole list. Whereas when I go to search or find, I can say, I want to search both active and archive, but I want to find text in file for pickle. I want to find the word pickle. And I have a feeling we're not going to find anything, but that's fine. Well, nope. Turns out we actually have pickle under Purdue Law. No, actually, I didn't specify the client. Let me go back into find. Now, the other thing that you need to do, if you're going to find just archived documents for Purdue Law that contain the word pickle, is you need to make sure to specify Purdue Law right here, okay? So you specify the client, you specify the matter, you specify whatever else you're looking for, and you say search both active and archive, okay? So a lot more flexibility in find. In find, you have the ability to look at both active and archive at the same time. In find, you have the ability to do more than just say, take me to Purdue Law 00 matter active or Purdue Law 00 matter archive. You have the ability to say, I'm looking for a certain word, I'm looking for a certain date range, I'm looking for a certain whatever. Now, one more thing. Sometimes people are used to going over here. Now, a lot of our clients, we have set up WorldDocs in such a way that they don't even see this thing that they call the navigation panel over here. Some firms, we've actually been asked by administration to simply limit so that people can't even get to the navigation pane. But some firms have us set it up where the users can see this navigation pane. And so I want to show you that over here, if we go to the top of our client profile group, we'll see, and I'm going to collapse this, we see we have a list of active files and a list of archive files. So moving them from active to archive is doing just that. It's taking them out of here and moving them to here. What if we moved all of Purdue Law's Matter 00 files out of active to archive? Would we still see them in this active list if we looked and found Purdue Law and then went further and found that 00 matter? We would, unless we have this certain thing set on our indexer. Now, oh, we must have closed the indexer, Mary Jo. Let me get back into the indexer. For me, that's going to be under Startup. And if you don't know what the indexer is, just keep in mind that we can do this and talk to your administrator, whoever runs your WorldDocs system for you. But I'm going to go into the indexer and I'm going to show one little switch that can make those empty folders disappear. If you are in the maintenance mode, which means we're not running as an indexer, and you get into the profile properties for that T drive, one of the checkboxes in here is delete empty folders found during a profile update. Now, again, if you're a user and you don't understand what all this means, just keep in mind that if somebody at your firm checks this box, then when you archive all the documents for a specific matter, the next time the indexer runs and does what's called a profile update, which is usually on a nightly basis, that empty folder will disappear. Now, even if you're not able to see these folders, if you're an administrator and you want to keep things clean, even though your users aren't seeing these folders, it's a good idea to check this box. So I'm going to check it here, and I'm going to say OK. And now when our profile updates run, that happens, that those empty folders get deleted. And so that's it. That's Oh, thank you. Mary Jo is keeping me on track here. You know, I have this written down and I'm still not paying attention. I'm going to go back to Purdue Law. I'm going to go into the archive. How do you get them back? What if you archived something by mistake? What if you archived it when you should have, but now it needs to be brought back into active? What do you do? Well, if you go and look at the archived documents, and I'm going to mark them all because they really shouldn't be archived, and I right-click and choose Archive, now it says Restore. So if you take and view some stuff in the archive and you want to get just one file, maybe all the files, all the documents, maybe just a certain group of the files or documents, just mark the ones that you want to bring back into the active folder, right-click, choose Archive, and choose Restore Archive File. And I'm going to do that right now, and bam, there they all go, back into active. That is archiving. We learned how to archive a file, a group of files, an entire matter. We learned how to restore a file or a group of files or an entire matter. We learned that if we go into the profile, we can actually specify that these archive documents go on a less expensive drive, in a less expensive, less powerful server, perhaps with a less expensive means of backup. We learned that the difference between searching for archive documents and going direct access. And we also learned that if we want to archive entire matters and we want those empty folders to automatically disappear, it's just a matter of going into the indexer and setting something up in the profile. So it is with at this point that I'd like to announce that from this point forward, starting in January of 2015, the WorldDocs Virtual User Group meeting is moving to the last Monday of the month. Currently, it is held every second Monday of the month, and starting next month, we're going to move it to the last Monday of the month, and it's going to happen right after our Tabs 3 and Practice Master Virtual User Group meeting, so it's being moved to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. So starting with next month, the WorldDocs Virtual User Group meeting is going to the last Monday of the month at 3 o'clock. And while I'm talking about it, let's take a look at what we have. And by the way, in Barbados right now, it's 2:26. WorldDocs Virtual User Group meeting shows up right over here. And next month, we're going to be talking about and these aren't up on the site yet. Next month, we're going to talk about the email tab in WorldDocs. A lot of you have seen it and never known what it does, so we're going to go into great detail and talk about what that email tab does and what it means to you. And also, customizing find templates. I'm going to talk about customizing your find templates to make them more user-friendly for the people and the specific things that you're looking for, and the people in your firm that may want to look for those specific things. And Mary Jo is going to talk about the email tab. And so here we are on the website where I just want to point out that we do have the WorldDocs Virtual User Group meeting right here. And if we click on that, it'll tell us what our next scheduled meeting is about, and that happens to be the one we're in right now. Gives you a description, a link to register, and then as you scroll down, you'll find recorded versions of every other WorldDocs Virtual User Group meeting that we ever had and recorded. And we've been recording our Virtual User Group meetings for a long time now, years and years. We also have, of course, our Tabs 3 and Practice Master Virtual User Group meetings. You'll find those here and here. We have our Coffee Pot webinar series, which is a monthly thing, dealing with add-on products usually, or other ways that you can use products that you already have. Mary Jo has her eBytes video series, which are short little 2, 3, 4-minute videos with very succinct little bits of information. And we have our TV show format, Paul and Mary Jo Show, where Mary Jo and I get into a certain topic in great detail. So be sure to take advantage of all this free video content that we have on the website, and be sure to check back if you want to rewatch this this virtual user group meeting that you're attending right now. It's going to show up here in a couple of days. Everybody have a good afternoon, a good rest of the month, a good holiday season, and a good new year, and we will see you in January of 2015. Thanks. Bye-bye.